Okay, good morning, boys and girls. We're going to look at America entering this war now. We've seen what happened with Hitler. We saw what happened with the rest of Europe. And where's the United States in all this? Now, obviously, if you didn't know this, you didn't watch the last two sets of notes. We do not enter the war when it begins in 1939. Okay, and why not? You got to think back to after World War I. All right, the United States wants to remain neutral. We want to be in isolation. We don't want to get involved in another world war. We saw hundreds of thousands of deaths in World War I because we get involved in a European war, and Americans don't want it. Okay, so we actually go ahead and pass something called the Neutrality Acts. This isn't just a president saying yes, we're not going to go into war. We're going to remain neutral. This is an official act of Congress. This is law. Okay, the United States will not take part in the war in Europe. Okay, and you can see this is still 4 years before World War II starts in Europe. So we're kind of looking ahead and we're saying we saw what happened in World War I. We're not getting in it. If you want to get into the war, you're going to have to pass and overturn this law, and it's going to be much more difficult. So if there's a change in presidents, it doesn't matter. This is the law. We are neutral. Okay, now you can see this this idea of appeasement. Okay, we're letting them do what they want to do. You can see Uncle Sam looking into the mirror. Okay, and people have looked back, and historians have looked back and saw that we were kind of being weak, that we weren't standing up for our rights, standing up for other people's rights, and we could have prevented this war if we would have been a little bit more proactive. Okay, so we're on the sidelines now. We're going to cautiously move away from neutrality to support the Allies. Okay, now FDR passes something, or gets Congress to pass something called the cash and carry provision, a little add-on to the Neutrality Acts. Now, think about World War I. What got us into trouble? Our ships are getting busted down. Our ships are getting sunk. Okay, we're going into debt. So cash and carry. What this says is we will trade with you. Okay, you need to bring cash up front. There's no loans. There's no IOUs, pay you back later, and you need to get it yourself. So we're not using our ships. We're not taking out loans. We're not getting loans. So remember, we're in the Depression. This is helping us out. Okay, it's getting us our economy going a little bit, and we don't have to worry about our ships getting sunk. All right, so it's pretty easy to remember if you think about the title, cash and carry. You pay for it up front, you come get it. Okay, now France and Britain are trying to hold off Hitler, but remember, Hitler and Germany are extremely powerful at this time. Okay, they have most of Western Europe under their control. Okay, now what we're going to see is the formation of this new alliance system of Germany, Japan, and Italy. And so really a worldwide alliance known as the Axis powers. Okay, so they're all totalitarian, all very militaristic, heavy emphasis on the military. Okay, and we looked at these guys yesterday, kind of how they took control and how they really seized on the fears of their people to really, be dictators. Okay. Now, what's happened is we're getting ready for war before this war starts. Okay. World War I, we get into war. We're not really prepared. Okay. We institute a draft before the war starts. Okay, first time ever this has happened. We've had the draft before, getting men ready to go into war. We do this before we even are in war. Okay, so we're getting men ready. Now, what happens is that FDR sees Great Britain as the last kind of beacon of hope and democracy in Europe. All right. France is on the verge of being defeated. They're going to get overrun by Germany. And really the last one left is Great Britain. If Great Britain falls, democracy as you know it is over, okay, in Europe. And the United States needs to be this arsenal, okay, arsenal where you keep your weapons, this arsenal of democracy. And we need to help out those countries if they need the weapons to support and defend democracy. All right. Now, by 1940, Britain goes bankrupt. Okay. Now, how can you do cash and carry if you don't have any cash? You can't. All right. So FDR gets something called the Lend-Lease Act. Okay. We are going to lend them or lease them supplies for defense. Okay. Let them borrow. Now again, of course, you're not going to want tanks and bombs and guns after they've been used. It's kind of a clever way to get around the Neutrality Acts. But we say we'll lend you these things or let you borrow them for the war, and then after the war you can pay us back. Okay, kind of an IOU program. All right, and you look at some of this aid. I mean, billions of dollars to these countries that are fighting off Germany, fighting off Italy, fighting off Japan, and you know, FDR kind of explains it like this. All right, if your neighbor's house is on fire, okay, and he comes pounding on your door in the middle of the night, and he says, "Hey man, my house is on fire, and I don't have a garden hose. Okay, can I borrow your hose?" You're not going to be like, "Hey buddy, I just went to Home Depot, Menards, I just got that hose. That's a $15 hose. Give me $15 and I'll let you use my hose." No, unless you're a jerk. You're just going to let that guy use your hose, put the fire out, and then after the fire is done, okay, he'll pay you back. All right. So we're not getting it. It's not like the guy comes over to your house and says, "Hey, buddy, my cat is up in the second floor. Why don't you run up there and save my cat?" No, he says, I just need something to put this fire out. Okay. And we are going to be the ones to help them put that fire out. The fire is the war. Okay. And the hose is all the weapons that we're going to lend them. Okay. And we bring the weapons. All right. I mean, we just pull on, I mean, like he said, an arsenal for democracy. All right. Now, we're slowly getting close to war. So now we have the Neutrality Acts. Then you have cash and carry. And now you're having Lend-Lease. And now Hitler is using these submarines again, these wolf packs, these groups of submarines to control the North Atlantic and sink supply ships. Okay, and this is very similar to what happens in World War I. FDR is allowing the Navy to attack these ships. They're allowing merchant ships to self-defend themselves, and you can see the tension just waiting for something to happen. Okay, and just like World War I, surrounding the British Isles with U-boats, submarines to sink anyone who's trying to bring England supplies. Okay. Now, in Japan, all right, Hideki Tojo, remember, totalitarian, the leader of the military, invades China, okay, and seizes French bases in Vietnam and is really expanding in Southeast Asia now. The United States tries to cut them off, okay, freeze their economic money assets in the United States, cuts off trade. They don't stop, all right. Japan keeps on going in Southeast Asia, and we cut their oil off. Now they get 80% of their oil from us. Okay, at this time, it's not, the Middle East is not the big player in oil. It's us. We cut them off. Now they're very small. They're very dependent on oil. This is a big deal. Okay, so we're not. We're more trying to cut them off diplomatically and cut them off economically, and hopefully they will. Not be able to survive because they don't have what we're providing them. Okay, so you could see, Japan imported 80% of their oil from us. Okay, and we cut them off. Now, Japan, you see here, Japan's very small. Here's Japan. The red is everything that they had control of. All right, so they are extremely successful in taking over territories. Now, again, if this map continued about 4 inches more to the right, you'd see the Hawaiian Islands, which are a territory of the United States. Okay. Now, the attack on Pearl Harbor, December 7th, 1941. This is a date that you need to know. All right. This is one of those dates, for me, you ask me, where was I? September 11th, 2001. I was in Mr. Griffin's sociology class. I was a senior in high school. I sat in the fourth row over, 2 seats back. I remember exactly what I was doing. Okay. This is one of those days. The Japanese are going to attack the Navy base at Pearl Harbor and trying to get rid of our aircraft carriers. All right. Now, up to September 11th, this is the biggest attack ever perpetrated on America from an outside enemy. Okay, 2,400 plus Americans killed. Okay, almost another 1,200 wounded, and a lot of aircraft, a lot of ships destroyed or damaged. And this is what's going to push us into war. Okay. Now, FDR, goes to Congress, asks for a declaration of war against Japan the next day. And what happens is Japan is buddies with who? Germany and Italy. Okay. And they're going to declare war on us. So now we are in World War II, 2 years after it starts. Okay. And we'll look at some of this stuff. Okay. Time to swap out the old book for a set of brass knuckles. Okay, these surprise attacks. Okay, here's the main island, and we'll look at all this in class. Destroying these ships. Okay, coming through a very, very well planned out attack. All right. The USS Arizona. Now this is the big one, and we'll look at some video with this tomorrow. Okay, this one's hit by a torpedo and 8 bombs. Now what happens is one of the bombs busts through the deck and ignites and blows up about 1 million pounds of gunpowder. Okay, over half the men that were killed were on this ship. Now you can go to Hawaii today, and the ship is still in the harbor. Okay, and they have a museum over the top of it. And I've had some students that have went there. You take a little ferry out, and you can check it out and kind of see this ship. So this ship right here, okay, is this one, the USS Arizona. Okay, so the United States is now in World War II. We moved from neutrality, from isolation. We have cash and carry, lend, lease. The Germans are sinking our merchant ships. Japan is expanding. We try to cut them off. That doesn't work. And then Japan is going to attack us December 7th, 1941. And the next day, December 8th, 1941, we are going to enter World War II. And we'll look at how this impacts the home life, the American society later on. Okay. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed. Take care.